Well, hello. Hello, everybody. Let me get my headphones on here. It's been one of those fucking days, as it happens. Just trying to set up for some new stuff. Oh, how are all of you doing? I hope you're doing well. Yesterday's anti-oedipus just tore the shit out of me. For those of you who don't join our readings, we do anti-oedipus every Tuesday. Followed by, try to every Tuesday. Sometimes I have work. Sometimes I have things in the middle of. Goddamn. Klosowski's Thursdays. But yesterday we ended up going through 2 paragraphs. Each paragraph was about 2 hours. Paragraph. So it's just an extraordinarily large amount of work. It is gray hair today. It is, there's a purplish to it, depending on how you look at it, but it is a gray hair day. I'm not sure if I'm keeping it or if I'm using it as a base. I just didn't want blonde bleached hair. So I toned it. Just toned it up. I just toned it up. Wasn't in the mood for that, so just toned it. Nice and easy, nothing super exciting. And then OBS decided to update because let's just fucking ruin my day completely. Why not? Looks a little dark. It's a little dark in there. A couple things I want to go through today. One is a new project. Well, actually, it's all new projects for the most part. So this is going to be fun. The first part, we're going to go over something Kid Not Kin came up with as an idea, and that I didn't have the ability to do anything but go, yeah, all right. Followed by what the thumbnail said. The new project, Theory by Kintsugi, which we'll go through as a whole thing. But before we do that, I want to talk about this. 1 second. Let's see. So there you are. You there, pop, and 1 second. Let's talk about Operation Inflation. Let's talk about Operation Inflation. I'm going to blow this up big, and I'm just going to move myself off to the side because it doesn't matter. I'll move myself way off to the side. OperationInflation.com. So if you haven't been watching the news lately, here in America, we've got a, we'll say, fascist nightmare in power, sending troops and brown shirts and psychotic racists under guise of protecting the homeland, the motherland, who are just doing awful shit to protesters. One of the things that's pretty consistent, though, is that the protesters are seen and portrayed heavily as these evil, awful people. They have angles on cameras. They're showing them as, no matter what, they're just portraying this awful thing. Except for one guy. Well, maybe 2 or 3. The capybara, the frog, there's a hippo, a cow. A couple of people started showing up in inflatable costumes. And inflatable costumes as a thing, if you haven't seen it, let's do it. We're gonna just enjoy a moment or two of frog guy protest Portland.
Huge. Honestly, I missed out on because I just...
What the fuck? Fuck off. Frog inflatable costume, Portland. Have you seen him? You guys know
what
I'm talking
was
about?
DHS came out and they were being really aggressive with us, and
I feel for this guy, but he knows exactly what is happening here. This is not... He's not there because he's trying to be like super serious, right? That's not the setup. He's very aware of what he's doing. I think he made a comment at one point because they sprayed inside of the little air hole and he said something along the lines of, "I'm Hispanic. I love it spicy," which is good work. Good fucking work, buddy. Good work. So kid saw this and he's like, "God, everyone should be in these." And then he went, "Everyone should be in these." So he bought a URL And I have enough time on my hands to go, you know what? I'm with you. So Operation Inflation was born. OperationInflation.com. Here is how it works. It's very simple. America needs costumes. We are about one thing, inflatable costumes. If you go there, it's simple. Inflatable costumes, you provide. Buy one, buy two, buy three. You're buying one for us to deliver to a protest somewhere. And there's a lot of places we've got people who are going to be doing this. It's $35 a pop. This varies. Some are going to be 37, some are 30, but with batteries and delivery, 35 safe. And that's it. You're not here to make a purchase of the costume for yourself. You are buying them for an art project where we make sure in the cold months, warm inflatable costumes fill the streets. So we've got, at this point, I've made a purchase of 10, one on top of it on behalf of myself. I've already got my inflatable Oogie Boogie costume that we're going to be delivering them. Are there profits? If there are, it's going to be $1 every delivery. Like we're going to be very transparent about how it's being spent, but no, this is not a for-profit thing. All the dollars go towards just straight through. And it's simple. They can't, and Kid watched on Fox News, Kid watched on all of these. They don't have the ability to make Frog Guy evil. It doesn't work. It's too silly while being serious. Because the protesters there, if you haven't seen, they're not doing anything. They're not actively being violent. But when the camera's tilting and they have it shaking and they do their bullshit. Will this even provide protection? It's not about protection, Goddard. I know your vibe. We're not going to answer it. The simple is we're going to be delivering these to people and having an army of inflatable costumes at these things. And it's going to be people standing around in this, and we're going to be helping them do that. That's the setup. We had enough people who wanted to put money towards it, who thought the idea was good. We like it, so we're doing it. And that's the setup. So if you want to help contribute and buy a costume for someone, we're going to be keeping tally of it on Op Inflation on X and also sort of on stream. We're going to be building out a part of the website so we can show where the costumes have been shown. And the idea is simple. It's just to make it more absurd that they need to call the Insurrection Act. That's it. Because we want that moment where they're showing video of a horse, a crab, a lobster, an upside down clown, an Among Us guy. And we want to fill it with all of those. And we want that to be the footage that they have to use for bringing in the Insurrection Act. Because we want them to look like the biggest coward pussies that they are. And this is how you do it. They can claim, because these protesters and people protesting, we are scary looking. We have facial hair. We tend to be darker at night and darker of skin. And that thing plays. You wear blacker clothes because you should. You wear bandanas. You care for yourself. But this makes it so it's insane and it's absurd. And we adore it. And we've already gotten a bunch. Kids gotten too many. And that's why we decided to put this together. So kids' idea, my minor execution here. If you want to take part, OperationInflation.com. You feel bad for the guy since he couldn't breathe in that costume. He couldn't have breathed outside of the costume, but he didn't take it off. The dude's a fucking hero.
And ended up shoving a comrade and detaining that comrade. And in that process, a lot of us got shoved back. And one of the comrades I noticed fell. And I went to go grab them and pick them up so they didn't also get detained or further hurt. And in that process, I got maced in the air vent. And essentially, I just kind of coughed a little, noticed a small hint of peppermint, and just continued to be in my frog costume.
I adore this human being so much, it's hard for me to even say. It's after he got pepper spray, it's like, it was a peppermint. It's kind of nice. He is, so here's the thing. He got maced in his air vent. But again, the point, what is the visibility here? What is the thing that's being seen? They maced a fucking inflatable frog dude in a costume. This is not someone walking around with weapons. This isn't someone attacking anyone. They don't have the ability in these costumes to do a goddamn thing. It is both absurd and clear defensive protection in that, hey, I'm not a threat. I'm just here to voice my opinion like I'm supposed to goddamn be able to in this godforsaken nightmare country. The more of these we have, the more silly this is, the more it's clear that when you have Kristi Noem, that plastic melted-faced cunt standing on that building, standing over a huge group of people in inflatable costumes, fuck you. Like you want that visual? I'll take that visual. I'll take that visual any fucking day of the week. Any fucking day of the week. So that's the idea. We're going to be dropping them off. We're going to be doing this for a little bit and we're going to see what happens. And we have a bunch of people in other cities doing it. Kid and I happen to be in Portland, so clearly it's all being done. And I'm pretty jazzed about it, to be perfectly frank. Let's see. Kid will probably be talking about it on his channel tonight. We'll probably raid him after this. But I wanted to open with that because it is something I genuinely think is, I think it's fun. And it's going to be at minimum, it is something to do. And so it's going to be a trip. When we go down there, it's going to be weird. And I like weird. And I like weird and I like kind of wholesome, weird, innocent. And it's not angry. It's just, hey, look, this is how useless you people are. Like, we're in costumes. So we'll see what happens with it. We'll see. Now, with that said, and we got a whole bunch of stuff that's going with it. We had a blast with it last night and we're going to continue to. That'll be a thing. I'll be annoying people about it and it'll be popping up. Things from political advocacy scale for actual results. I don't know. Like, what we know is that the frog guy, they've not shown on Fox and they've stopped showing video of they shoot around him or they edit around him. That says something. And we want to see if Laura Ingraham on her fucking, again, another plastic-faced cunt. This is amazing. George Carlin had the line, and I will always use it. Plastic surgery allows everyone to see how ugly you are on the inside. I want her to have to show video and scaremonger about people dressed in cow costumes. I think it'll be fun. We'll see. But this is going to be a bit of a different stream. Now, not super different. We've done a handful of these before. Some have called them research style streams. That's not really my jam. Sometimes it is. We did a few on the fold. We played around with it a little bit, but I'm far more interested in something a little bit different than that. Do you guys know what, yeah, exactly. I mean, Goddard, that's literally it. They're the same costumes. They're all on Amazon. Some of them are cheap shit. We don't care. And like, again, this is not trying to buy nice costumes. This is giving them to people, not asking names, not asking for, are you a good protester? We don't give a shit. It's, hey, here, wear this. Wear this. And the ability for people to see you as someone else. And we've talked about this in the QC quite a bit. One of the things that is very difficult to get past is that when you are portrayed nationally, people fit you into whatever their understanding of whatever weird little world that they live in. And there's a lot of weird little worlds. When you are wearing a costume like this, that is so clearly silly, stupid, and really childlike, there's not a lot of room for them to do that. It's going to be weird. These are not fursonas. We are not doing a weird furry commentary. This is not what we're doing. You're good. This is literally just Halloween's in a couple weeks. This is the time of year. So let's get everyone in happy festive costumes and show them we're not here as danger. We're here as, one second. Let me see if I can pull out some images. Some of these are really fucking stupid. Some of these are really fucking stupid. One second. Let me see if I can pop these open in a... I'm not going to be able to show them. They're just the Amazon ones. Here, I'll just fucking go through. It's fine. Because we got donated so I could buy... It was a total of 8. But Prime Day sale. Happy day. So I got 10. So let's see. We're going to go through a couple of them just so you can... Because again, this is the point. Operation Inflation. We should have them tomorrow. I'm hoping we have most of them tomorrow. All right, let me see. Let me make sure I'm not sharing anything personal on here. All right. Let's see. 27 bucks. These are on sale. It's great timing. So there's one. Would you imagine an interesting response if there's an act of violence so egregious? So can you imagine a Kent State with victims dressed like this? I don't. We had to get the Katy Perry shark. Got a couple of those. Upside down clown. I don't even know how to feel about it. I couldn't find a Sonic one. Trust me. Put links in the QC and the stream notes. I'm happy to look at it. I like Happy Elephant. Happy Elephant's great. I got a couple of purple hippos. The brown hippo wouldn't show up for a few days. I know, racism. I got some Jordan Petersons. And of course, police. I don't know why else they would give the pig those glasses. Do you know why they would give the pig those glasses? I don't know any other reason they would do that. Are there more clips of different... yes, let me make sure that I'm not going to get banned. Give me a second. There's like a bunch of them. I don't want to watch too much of the horrifying porn of it. Because like there's some really awful shit happening outside of the Portland facility, and they're just being cruel. All right, we'll watch this. This is a fuck. I love this one. This one makes me smile. These people. Do you see how they're framing it? Do you see how they're framing everything? Just watch. Yeah, welcome to the inspiration. This is the amount of shit that has happened. There's a capybara. Let me see if I can find the capybara. There's capybara, and then there's like the... It's so awful what they're doing. They're just violent assholes. Listen, I mean, how is this not the best thing ever? We're watching them retreat when presented with a frog. And it makes me... There's a witch behind him. That's a witch. She's dressed as a witch. She has a broom. Look at him backing up. Like, now watch Frog Guy. See. The hip thrusts make it. This is the shit I love. This is the thing. I couldn't find this one. That's a very nice capybara costume. But the inflatables are the thing. Kid had a bunch of them. Kid had a bunch of these videos last night. But this is the thing. This is how they film it. And it seems intimidating. It seems awful. This is how they abuse it. That's what they do. Very frustrating. I find it frustrating. Jackasses. So, instead, what I want to do is I want to talk about something a little bit different. A few days ago, and about a week ago, I started talking about how the way that we do things here in the QC, let me switch back to, we'll actually go back to the poop. It's a very lovely Japanese tea set. It's made of porcelain. It's actually not super expensive, but it's pretty nice. It's a cute little set. Very light, very simple. These are made by someone who's a skilled craftsman, generally speaking. People spend time making these things, setting them up, putting them in a place, and at some point, someone breaks it. At that point, there's a lot of things that can happen. One is it's broken. You can throw it in the trash. Traditionally, this is not seen as the best thing to do. And in fact, there's an art form, wonderful one. If you haven't seen Man in the High Castle, probably the best explanation of it. It's called Kintsugi. The idea is that you take the broken pieces and using a very particular type of resin that's actually with gold powder in it and a few other things, what you do is you repair the cup. So that way it's even more beautiful than it was before, so that you're capturing the break. You're actually using the broken moment to make the cup better, to make it more meaningful, to infuse it. I look at a lot of bad philosophy through a not drastically dissimilar lens. Take Philosophy Tube, right? Philosophy Tube, who's absolutely trash in every way. Like, she's done a handful of good videos, but she doesn't fucking care about anything. She doesn't care about what she's saying. She doesn't really give a fuck. She's regurgitating, at best, bad information. That gets old. I'm aware of what Guts said. I'm aware of the references for various things. I don't agree with everything inside of a manga. When someone breaks a cup, they can, and it turns out on YouTube, they often display it. Here's the cup. Here are pieces of the cup. Isn't the cup amazing? But it's not the cup. It's pieces of it in the wrong way or from the wrong direction or organized incorrectly. So when you're looking at it, you're not seeing the right thing. You're not looking at it wholly. You're not understanding the cup. I want, instead of just laughing at Michael Burns and Philosophy Tube and all these other fucking jackasses who don't care about what they're saying, who present broken cups and then at the same time say that it's the limit of the art form. Somehow you have the audacity to say such a thing. Instead, I want to find a way to use what they're building, to use the broken pieces of what they're doing. For me, Kintsugi is the way to think about it. So what does that mean in terms of philosophy and theory? Well, our friend Michael Burns, and we're not going to focus too much on the fact that it's him. It's only a part of the story effectively that it's him. Because it's again, not really about him. It's about what he made. Did a piece recently on Byung-Chul Han's Burnout Society. And it's awful. It's so fucking bad. It's so bad that I actually had to sit with someone else and go over parts of Burnout Society to make sure I'm not out of my mind. Which is confusing to say, but like, I'm not super strong in Byung-Chul Han. I've read pretty much everything he's done, but he's not like my dude that I read constantly. But what was interesting is how he got it wrong. And what I want to do is I want to spend a little bit of time talking through kind of what it means for us to find pieces. Because the goal is when I do these pieces of content, and I went out, I found 6 of these identicals. The goal for me is to do 5 of these. I'm going to have one that's the original cup, and then the others I'm going to hit with a hammer. And then we're going to live stream proper Kintsugi practice. You guys can do it alongside with me if you're interested. You don't have to. And we're going to put it back together. And we're going to talk about what the pieces are, how they work. And I've got kind of a methodology of it that I want to talk through. So that's why you're here. I'm going to be talking and jotting down ideas and notes of how this entire thing works. Because at the top of it, let me see if I can get my stuff in the right way here. At the top of it, Byung is not difficult to read. To say the least, Guattari is way underestimating. I find him deeply conversational. Deeply conversational. I find him fun, actually. I actually like a good amount of his writing because he's incisive. His piece, Shenzai, and then his other, In the Swarm, which are collections of shorter essays of his. He has some very, very good, done before, but very smart 5 to 6 page pieces. And Burnout Society, which is, of all the things for a guy named Michael Burns to fuck up, it's amazing. Burnout Society is complicated, and that's fine. Like, things are complex. It's the way that it's going to happen. How do I write that so beautifully? I just have a fantastic pen. Burnout Society is about the achievement culture we live in. Burnout Society has some very particular sort of large-scale ideas that's in it. And what is happening with it is so telling, not just of how Burns operates, because he's not the goal, but how the liberal subject of capital functions and understands theory. That if we do this correctly, we end up with a cup we've not only put back together, but the seams are actually tools we can use to further change how we critique things in the future. Burnout Society just connected me directly to left. It's fantastic. Here are some quotes. We're going to go through because I've actually done a lot of pre-work on this, and I'm going to be talking about things in certain ways. Don't hesitate to say, I don't know, the language there's a little, because I went a little up my own ass with some terminology and the way I'm talking about things. I know who I am. No one here is going to be like, Brooks fucking went up his own ass talking about stuff? No way. The short version. Let's see. Where do I want to start with this? One of the challenges of everything that happens in Burnout Society, and there's a couple big ones. We're going to talk about all of this. One second. We're going to talk about all of this as being kind of the piece that we're working through. And we're going to try to figure out how we can create cracks. Because there are again, how we think about this and how I'm talking about this is a big deal. It's part of this. That's the idea. So again, as we go, don't hesitate to be like, dude, this makes no sense, or I don't understand why you're using this language, or whatever else. Perfectly fine, perfectly normal. All that stuff's great. It's a hopeless book. It isn't. It is a hopeless book, but again, it's more hopeless depending on how you consider it. And we'll have that talk in a second. So, the video Burns does opens with this thing about him saying, oh man, I just couldn't even get going. I'm just so burned out. The video treats subjects under capital as agents who experience burnout. That burnout is the feeling that you get, that it is the way that you exist. But Byung-Chul Han's book, Burnout Society, is not about this idea of the liberal subject. It's actually talking about subjects as products of a system that produces burnout subjectivity. It's a running thing, and this is why I think this makes it more interesting, because Byung-Chul Han at no point is having a conversation about here are ways to protect yourself against burnout society. That's not the setup. That's never been the setup for Byung. That's not a thing he does in any of his books ever. He's into psychoanalytic sort of, I don't want to say Heidegger. I will say Heidegger. He's left, but it's left Heideggerian and being and like all that shit. He's not Deleuze, but he's still good. I don't want to again, this is not here to critique Byung. So one of the big challenges is that you have this fucked up massive, one second, that's the wrong color. We have this, really, that's what we're going to do today. That would go back. There. And one second. There. One of the big challenges we have is that the first major sort of crack, and it's a big one, kind of across the entire thing as far as I'm concerned, is this position of the personal subject. Okay? Fundamentally, there is no personal subject in any of these guys at all. It's a running theme for Burns, and it's one of the things that I think he is Foucauldian. Again, I'm not here to critique Byung. I'm not really in the job here. I want to talk about the mistakes, because the structure of how we talk about the mistakes and how we repair it is the big deal. So we'll just open up. The video treats subjects as agents who experience it. Han is not doing that. The inversion at this point, it happens immediately in the video. It's the first thing that happens, but it continues throughout. Makes basically all the other misreadings that are happening inside of it apparent, necessary, contributes to them. If there is, it's a running thing for all pop stuff. It's a running thing for fucking Burns. And we'll get to that because again, the structure that keeps showing up. So, for example, and this is because I'm trying to figure out how to talk about this and do this in this way, but let's see. We'll switch to, I think I can do a purple. This first line here, okay? This first line, these are the pieces. The goal for me is to try to figure out if I can find a way to make a diagram-ish of this. When I smash a cup, I'm going to have the pieces. We'll talk about the pieces as I'm doing it together. I'll have this all preset, and it'll be a video of doing Kintsugi in theory. I know. It sounds weird. We'll get to it. So the first thing up front, he opens with, I was supposed to film this video 2 weeks ago, but I kept falling behind and then hating myself. Because it's about, for him, individual action, individual failure, individual burnout. But for Han, the actual setup that's happening here is actually auto-aggression resulting from auto-exploitation. The intended output of capitalist transformation to more efficient subjectivity production. I'm stealing straight from the book when I say this. The whole point for him is that capitalism is moving us to a place of this produced aggression, produced exploitation that is part of the production of the subject itself. And this is where, again, the way Mike has gone about his shit in the past, when he made his video about how he's maybe at the limit of YouTube. I've done everything I can be done. Or with Jameson, saying that Jameson is something that can be fixed, that it's an illness. Centering his agency, centering the agency of the user. These things are consistent. This is a consistent drive and attraction towards this structure. And this structure is what I will call the agency. It's agency at the core of what Michael's doing. It always is. So that's like the first big crack is agency. Okay. The way he does this is interesting and I think worthwhile in and of itself, because I have written, and I'm not sure how I like the wording around this, but the video is produced, to use Byung's words, by achievement subjects on platforms that require achievement subjectivity for audiences of achievement subjects. This is an achievement subject is like the thing that he's talking about. The reason we get burned out is because we're achievement subjects. You're achievement subjects watching me be an achievement subject that requires achievement subjectivity on a platform that drives achievement as a thing. The conditions making the video possible are the conditions that Han is analyzing. Byung-Chul Han is going through them particularly. But the video basically cannot at any point understand what the book is about unless it dissolves itself. This is why the first crack happened. This is the first crack. And it is one of, and the wording around this is going to be important, but it is, as I said, centering agency, but it's centering agency as a presumption that there are choices made, that you can be aware of things and make different choices. This setup, this isn't the big deal. Okay? This whole thing is his drives becoming visible and his way of interpreting. It's the only way you could interpret it. So, the challenge we have, okay, the thing that emerges when people watch this, and if you look through the comments, you can see this as well. The thing that emerges is this: understanding achievement subjects, that they metabolize critique as achievement content. They necessarily misread structural production as individual experiences. This is almost directly, by the way, from the book. I'm mostly stealing from the book when I make these comments. Not always, but generally. We are all achievement subjects. We get burned out because we're achievement subjects and we're in platforms that drive achievement, blah, 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 all that shit. But because critique, and you saw this when I talked to him, it's shocking when you see the critique itself become achievement content. Oh, these people who are so very good. I got suckered in by being amazed he complimented me so much because I thought that meant something. It didn't. I fall victim to this in Byung's words, and I'm sure I do. But the thing at the base of it is you have to see structural production as individual. Structural is always individual, your choices. It's not something that you are the result of. You make it happen. The video is actually almost art, and that's why I've said this about a couple of his videos. My last critique, the same thing. Same with a couple of Philosophy Tube ones. They're so bad that it's almost like they're performing the thing while explaining it. They're not that bright, nor do they actually understand it. So it's actually perfect evidence of burnout society without knowing it, without even trying. And so this first crack happens. And if you look through the videos, people are like, oh, that's great. You explained Byung. No, he didn't. There's no explanation. There's too many broken pieces. There's no one who's able to come away from this video unless you've already read Burnout Society and have a background in all of those things. You're not going to get anything. So the structural break is there. So that's the first major one. And we can kind of talk through it in a couple pieces. The first is, as I said, agency. I think that works generally. The way I phrase this is I talk about the subject as agent versus subject as product. And so by putting it as agency first, okay, what that's saying is instead of, right, the idea of product, or that the person or agency at the center of it is product. This is the divide. And you go down, that conditions the rest of your understanding, right? Yeah. So let's do some Burns quotes as we go through this. I have these written down. I'm not going to write them all down here. I'm just going to say them. All of you who are in love with a hectic work and whatever is fast, new and strange, you find it hard to bear yourselves. Your diligence is escape and the will to forget yourself. Terrible. So instead of creating community and building social relations, our tired time is spent eating dinner on the couch watching Star Wars. Constantly throughout it, the thing he's doing, and I'm trying to do this in a little bit more of a schizoanalytic way. He's saying the words I. He's saying the words you. He's saying the words we. He's saying us, our. Right? This feeds right into agency for me. This feeds right into it for me. This is how the fracture began. This is that setup. If you go to the original, though, like as a thing, boop, 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 boop. The achievement subject stands free from any external instance of domination forcing it to work, much less exploiting it. It is lord and master of itself, thus it is subject to no one, or, as the case may be, only to itself. It differs from the obedient subject on this score. However, the disappearance of domination does not entail freedom. Instead, it makes freedom and constraint coincide. The capitalist system switches from auto-exploitation to auto-exploitation in order to accelerate. On the basis of the paradoxical freedom it holds, the achievement subject is simultaneously perpetrator and victim, master and slave. This has nothing to do with what Burns was saying. He says, I was supposed to film. I kept falling behind. The individual actions within a neutral system are what he talks about. Hahn is talking about those exact experiences, but he's saying they're produced systematically. He's saying, as he says, the system, production. These are the words Byung has. Like, again, talking about the thrust of them, how they're pushing the setup of it. In process, it develops, autoaggression often enough escalates into the violence of self-destruction. It's, again, industrial talk. And these filter right into this. And so you end up with this weird kind of, I don't want to say false dichotomy, but I think that's probably not a terrible way to talk about it. I don't think that's a terrible way to talk about it. Boop, 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 boop. Let's save you. Thank you. Then we trash it. Actually, let me go back. We'll just do some erasing, because I don't need this now. I have that saved. So this is the first fracture. Is this making sense how I'm talking about this as a thing? Is this making sense as I'm talking about it? I'm hoping yes, generally speaking. Yes, good. So that's the first crack. And again, the gap between the two, the size of it, how it comes about, and how you can see this. When he talks about people getting stressed, the subject getting stressed and being the cause. But stress producing subjectivity is the output of systemic transformation for Hahn. This is the break. I'm trying to figure out how to talk about it as the main break, because goddamn it, you'll see this is going to come through all of this. Here's the second crack. The second crack, and this is a little bit different. This one is what you might call the depressive. Depressive, mechanism. I'm not going to stop doing the schizoanalytic language. I can't help it. The depressive mechanism. So in the video, Michael says, the depressed individual is unable to measure up, tired of having to become himself. Depression began its ascent when the disciplinary model for behaviors, the rules of authority and observance of taboos that gave social classes, as well as both sexes, a specific destiny, broke against norms that invited us to undertake personal initiative by enjoining us to be ourselves. Which isn't great. It's not bad. It's not quoting Han. It's quoting Han quoting someone else. But the actual original phrasing, and it's specific, which are you shocked at this point? He's not going to get a lot there. Ehrenberg considers depression only from the perspective of the economy of self. The social imperative, only to belong to oneself, makes one depressive. For Ehrenberg, depression is the pathological expression of the late modern human being's failure to become himself. Yet depression also follows from impoverished attachment, which is a characteristic of the increasing fragmentation and atomization of life in society. The way it says, first off, he doesn't say Ehrenberg in the video. It's my favorite thing. So he doesn't say it's Ehrenberg's theory. It is. It's Han commenting on Ehrenberg's theory. Han is explicitly critiquing this theory. For Ehrenberg, the reducing of depression to economy of the self is the thing that Han is taking on. Right? Depression is narcissistic self-reference for Han. It is the absence of the other with that, the crisis of gratification, structural impossibility of self-gratification. All of this is depression. This has nothing to do with Ehrenberg's theory. And again, the way the depressive shows up, this gap, and this is a gap between, and that's the point of the cracks. It's the point of the cracks as an idea. The gap that we're seeing here, and it's kind of the big deal. The gap we're seeing is between, okay, on the one side, we've got his video, which will just say Burns, and then we'll have Burnout Society, the book. And there is a gap of distance here, period. There's a gap. And that gap is wide enough that misunderstanding creeps in. The break itself is what's interesting to me. This is number 2. Okay? No, come on. This is gap 2. No, stop that. And save you. And excellent. Boop, 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 boop. Good. So that's gap 2. And again, that's the point of this, is to have that conversation. Let's have another gap that we want to talk about here. It's one of the big things, the Foucauldian turn that absolutely Han is doing throughout this is biopower. Biopower is so huge to fucking Han, it's not really able to be taken out. It's the first fucking chapter of the book. The first chapter is neuronal power. This doesn't make it into Michael's video at all. Beyond Chul Han with Burnout Society is trying to take traditional biopower, the immunological idea of biopower, immunological. And I'm not going to go explain all of this because it's not possible. The first section of the book is literally about the new paradigm we exist under, that it's neuronal, not immunological anymore, that there is more of a violence of the negative versus the positive, other, foreignness, and the transformation of the epoch. To just say, and quote from page 1, every age has its signature afflictions. From a pathological standpoint, the incipient 21st century is determined neither by bacteria nor viruses, but neurons. Neurological illnesses like depression, ADHD, BPD, and burnout syndrome marked the landscape of pathology at the beginning of the 21st century. They are not infections, but infarctions. They do not follow from the negativity of what is immunologically foreign, but from an excess of the positive. This is huge. This is huge. This is a shit fucking huge goddamn thing. And again, completely absent from the video. So this is another gap. Okay, so this gap, okay, is on the one side, Burns again. How you doing, buddy? You having a fun time? You're doing great. But on the other side, you've got the book. And the challenge is that Burns, instead of realizing that he's talking about this in the same way that we once talked about biopower, or some still do, because that's the idea over here, is that it's neurological, neuron, he has a weird word for it, neuronal. I'm never going to pronounce that correctly. I can't say that for some reason, but it's neuronal, but it's not actually here. Not even biopower is there. Like, it's not even a conversation as a thing. The way immunology and biopower works is that it makes pathologies characteristic of an epoch. Capitalism and schizophrenia, from Deleuze and Guattari, this would be it. It's the same thing as saying, oh, schizophrenia is indicative of the epoch. This is where they tended to land, and I think they still would. Foucault's biopower, immunology, there's a whole bunch of Gambon, is big into this. He's a fascist, but wherever you end up, that thing that he's doing and playing with is removing the psychological, the neuronal from this. And by not even having that, when it's central to the book, again, forces it to become a personal choice. Because if it is, hey, this epoch, here is the illness, here's the pathology that comes from it, because the immunological paradigm is set, but he's bringing it to the neuronal as part of the burnout. Once you've done that, then again, this gap is set up, and the gap at a basic level is the lack of paradigm change. And also, I would argue, it leaves the immunology out of it. Immunology is absent. It's crack for me. That's a gap. It's just, there's no way. That's just a huge fucking gap. That's just flatly a gap. That's 3. Boop. Pop. Save you. Good. All right. Now let's boop, 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 boop. This was very tiring. This is very tiring. I'm just going to rewrite it. This has been very tiring to do. It's much easier to just shit on something directly and laugh at a person. Structurally talking about why they're wrong and then working through that is a whole fucking thing. All right. Let's talk about, let me get this back up here. Byung, come on, buddy. And Burnout Society. Burnout Society. There's a big inversion that happens with the next break, which is when we talk about efficiency, and this is a big deal for Byung as well. Graphic design is my passion. It is not. This is doodles. This is doodles. Auto-exploitation is a big deal for Byung, because for him, when we're talking about efficiency, the capitalist system of efficiency, it isn't just that we're becoming more efficient as workers because we're using different tools. No. Again, the gap is shown kind of through, here's two quotes, one from Michael, here's the other. From Michael, this all sets up a world of self-exploitation where the boss used to exist at the factory at the office, but now the boss exists in our heads. You know, the call is coming from inside the house. Byung-Chul Han says, starting at a certain level of production, auto-exploitation is significantly more efficient and brings much greater returns than allo-exploitation because the feeling of freedom attempts it. The capitalist system is switching from allo-exploitation to auto-exploitation to accelerate. So, Michael, being jokey motherfucker he is using this weird imagery of like the call coming from within the house or the setup, and this auto-exploitation is like this creepy thing that we do or is done to us, right? That's not it. The economic system is optimizing. That's Byung's point at like a basic level. It's like a basic level. He's saying something drastically different. By calling this a side effect, by calling it a psychological trap, by treating it as a horror thing that is something that seems like it might be avoided or something to be aware of, it turns it into this weird side effect or psychological problem. And that's not what this is. So here's another crack. Here's another crack. Let me see if I can draw this differently this time. This one is misunderstanding. The color's terrible. Let me see. One sec. Let me see if I can darken this color up. Yeah, we'll change that. We'll make it darker. That didn't help at all, Brooks. I know it didn't. Thank you. There, that's probably better. The misunderstanding at the basic level of efficiency. And this drives, again, other pieces, other setups. It is coextensive of the production of us. I mean, this is, you can see the same error. You can see how it's coming apart. Is there a PDF of this text? I'm sure I've dropped it once or twice. It's not my favorite of his pieces, but I know Hum was into it for a while. Well, shitting on it. He hates Burnout Society, but hey, you know, I don't blame him. Another minor break that I think is important to sort of talk about is this idea of freedom as constraint. Michael says, where the obedient subject does things because they must, whether because of a boss, the state, or some other mechanism of societal external control, the achievement subject does things because they can. This is the world of possibility, hustle, self-optimization, betting on yourself, creating your own lane, being your own boss. Let's pull from Byung. However, the disappearance of domination does not entail freedom. It makes freedom and constraint coincide. Thus, the achievement subject gives itself over to compulsive freedom, that is, to the free constraint of maximizing achievement. So Michael says, we have freedom, that's good, but we overdo it and burn out, which is bad. No, Byung's point is that freedom itself is the constraint mechanism. Zizek has a big thing on this, which I love. I've always loved. It's the way that we are paralyzed by choice, but we have no choices at all. How many candy bars are there? How many fucking flavors of energy drink? How many bottles of water? Like, these aren't choices, but they're freedom. And this sort of thing is kind of the setup here. The thing that Michael does, and it's really weird, is he's playing at that, the world of possibility, of hustle, of self-doubt. No. Like, yeah, but by saying, oh, then just don't go down that road and you'll be able to avoid it. That's not how that's not, no. No, that's the setup. Freedom is itself constraints. There is no freedom where you can do anything you want. That's the silly category. That's the category Michael uses. That's child's category. There's no such thing as freedom. Freedom is the freedom to be beholden to achievement, which is not really free. And so by using that language, by playing it that way, he's sort of otherizing the concept that is all of us, that he is himself a prime example of, which is a hell of a thing. I think it's a hell of a thing. So this would be this other side. So it's freedom as constraint. And then these are the main cracks. All right. So that's like the brunt of the first step. Let me get these shot and recorded. So these are the cracks. The process is, because I'm going to take a hammer to this fucking thing inside of a little plastic tub, saucer two. And then we're going to Kintsugi it. I got a kit coming. It's going to be a fun thing. I haven't done it for a very long time. It's very beautiful when you do it right. But this first part was just the first thing. It's identifying the cracks, seeing how big the gaps are, trying to figure out why there is a gap, what creates that space. Because space, there's no such thing as like a natural crack. There's a gap. Why is there a gap? Well, it's because when we start with this misunderstanding of identity or the agent or the individual of self at the core of the entire thing, then the next step is to completely fuck the rest up. It's the same thing he did with postmodernism. Like the postmodern turn is one that Jameson was saying, hey, we need to figure out how to understand and remap ourselves, not to prevent the postmodern. We're already there. And he fucked that up. So again, it's the same fucking thing over and over and over. So, to do this, I mark all the cracks. Then we hit it with a hammer. We break it. We do the, first destructive task. Sorry. For those of you who are in the readings, it's going to be the language. So the first destructive task is to prevent or to break apart those structures. You're about to play Dota 2. What heroes should you pick? Are you playing support, carry? Have you played a lot? Who's your main? What's your role? Position 1 through 5. Come on, Pashi. If you've not played before, Sniper, Sven, all of those Tide Hunters easy. Those are good. Yeah. Tide Hunter is like the easiest one to start with. Super simple. Load a guide up, do your thing. Super fun. Can kind of play any position. Dazzle's fun. If you like playing support, Dazzle's great. Keep going with it. So the first destructive task is preventing what I would say is these structures from starting again. So, the first thing that I think is clear, and it's again, at this point, once you've talked about all the cracks, my goal is to basically extricate Michael from this because I don't give a fuck about him. He's useless. He is useless, but he's interesting from a, here is what someone is saying thing. So we can see the broken glass. So what we're seeing, and the first thing I notice, and again, destructive task style, it is a deep investment in subject as autonomous agent. This is the first investment if there is one. I'm not sure it's possible to talk about this otherwise. So these are the investments, right? First is the agent as autonomous. Sorry, eat shit about my handwriting on this. It eventually is going to get terrible, I told you. This is the foundation of liberal political theory. It is the foundation of American political theory and society. It's even the foundation of pretty much our religious order. The idea of a soul, an individual, a person, an agent that is making choices and is good or bad or whatever. There is an I that is the locus of choice and responsibility. Right? So, this is the first one. Now, here's the things that it does. Hahn's analysis requires seeing the subject not as a starting point, but an output. All of his work. All of his work. All of his work. But not just his work. You're free to point out someone after, I don't know, Spooky, Mr. Spook. I don't like the Spook Sterner. Like, outside of the wackos like that, who the fuck on the left believes in agency? Who the fuck in critical theory pushes the idea of the liberal notion of subjectivity? Nobody. This is like out the door. Out the door. Malachi, I just read some matter of memory. Does anyone know the difference between image and representation is? Image is the imago, the image that is conjured in you, that is effective and experience, like you're going through. The representation is how you communicate it. We're the locus of taxes. I mean, that is the point. That's how the liberal thing happens. We're the locus of taxes, locus of private property, locus of votes, locus of whatever. So that thing we're doing, that we are, that setup completely blows out the ability for anything to work. Hahn starts with, first, subject is output. If you don't have that, you've failed. Achievement subject is not someone who then gets exploited. It's a subjectivity produced by the shift to auto-exploitation. Let me say that again, because it's super important. You don't happen into this or choose something in this direction. You don't happen into this. You are produced, and the society around us produces subjectivities, and lo and behold, the subjectivity is not that an agent is autonomous. That's not the thing. No. And he does it, and again, the indices throughout this. All of you who love hectic work, our tired time is spent eating dinner on the couch and watching Star Wars. You can do otherwise. Shit like that. You end up in the place where if you actually read and accept Hahn and himself, it throws out and you get completely fucked on having individual responsibility. There's no such thing as a bad choice. That's not how that works. You're completely collapsing the idea of therapeutic solution, the idea of boundary setting, which is talked about, like, which is fucking silly, or that there's better habits to be had. No. You're breaking it again. Meritocracy, he doesn't go into explicitly, but achievers achieve through their agency. Meritocracy is presumed into this world. That's why it's pushed. Oh, he must have worked really, really hard. You hear Michael do this on other streams. He doesn't do it here, but you know, it's a lot of work. I work really hard putting out my one video every 6 years that has no actual analysis. That thing that he's talking about and pushing, this setup, it's all about choosing. And that setup means that we end up in a really interesting place. And I want to talk about this one because part of this is when we talk about the attractors or repulsions as part of this. Because you're doing the destructive and positive task at the same time, right? When you start actually talking about this, you end up with a place where he's clearly attracted to or repulsed by different things. He's attracted to the feeling of burnout because he feels it. And it's comforting to feel that. The affect. I should say the affect. Right? He's attracted to the descriptions of the achievement subject, right? The narrative storytelling, the story of achievement. And he uses it a lot. It's clear he has examples of it. He shares it. He has an attraction to the way Han is utilizing this. And he's also deeply attracted to the language of self or auto exploitation, because he uses that a lot too. Boop, 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 boop. Right? On the other hand, he's clearly repulsed from the systemic agency that Han puts forward. Again, I don't necessarily agree with Han, but the idea that the capitalist system is changing, it's not part of it. And he seems repelled from this idea. There's a lot of quotes and stuff he talks about to not even talk about the first fucking paragraph of the goddamn book, let alone the first section or the intro, to not bring up the biopower in it. There's a repulsion there. There's a natural repulsion there, right? That's happening. The other things, he doesn't talk about efficiency, which is weird. And I couldn't quite figure out why, because he comes around it. Because again, he's talking about exploitation, auto-exploitation, which is from efficiency for Han. But he doesn't talk about efficiency as a thing. To me, this is a repulsion. If you're not mentioning the thing, and you're not mentioning the thing that Han hammers home that these things go together, to me, that's a repulsion. But also, and this goes with this one, and this comes back up, is produced subjects he avoids like the fucking plague. So again, when we're talking about how these things interact, how he comes about, it's a big deal. And it's not possible to do this. One second, let me get this saved. 1 second. There's another one that I think is interesting. Like, again, this is the first major thing is sort of chasing down how agency interplays and how he sees it as individual agency rather than social agency, and the social systems, how they create the repression. He skips all of that, which is interesting in how. Another way he does this, though, is, and I can't help but bring all of his videos in. And when you go through the last 5 videos he's had, including the one where he's begging for money, talking about how he got fired or how he's fucked or whatever, there is a specific way that YouTube and the platform is talked about that's negative. There's a narcissistic investment within most of these things. So, and he talks about it in this video, he talks about it in a lot of them, the algorithm, the audience, the monetization, the genre of video, what he does, the explicit investment in the format that he's doing, and how he's hit an optimal point. I can't skip that. There's no way that doesn't color the video he does after. I just think this might be the end of philosophy on YouTube. I don't think I can do more. Now here's my video on Burnout Society. You can't extricate these things together. The achievement of having gotten to the limit of YouTube and being that's extraordinary. I can't skip that. Sorry. So, the declaration itself, the reason I can't skip it is because Han talks about this. This is in the fucking book. The achievement subject stands free from external instances of domination, forcing it to work, much less exploiting it. It is lord and master of itself. That sentence, the declaration that one has excelled and found the most efficient way to do this, that they found the optimal way to use a platform, is the most humble bragging, efficient achievement subject thing I've ever fucking heard in my goddamn life. So to have that video precede this one is insane to me, but to not have that become central to this. So at the core of this is YouTube. And it is, the reality is, Burns uses YouTube. There's other things out there. There's a million other platforms. They've chosen this platform, mastered it, apparently, become the pinnacle of it. They are lord and master of themselves and their format. Burns is amazing at this. He is genuinely the worst he could be at it, so it actually illuminates the problem. This is why I was like early on, I tend to give people too much room. Sunday keeps warning me and other people keep warning me against this. I give people a lot of credit. It's like, hey, maybe he's doing a thing here. No. So for Mike, he is the master of the format. But Han says, however, the disappearance of domination does not entail freedom. Instead, it makes freedom and constraint coincide. This is like the point. You probably heard me say this. I have this quote. There's like only a handful of quotes that I really have hammered into my head from this goddamn book. But the thing that's happening is stunning. Byung-Chul Han in Burnout Society is talking about this weird way that freedom and constraint come together because the disappearance of domination has shifted what freedom means. You're free to do anything. But what is anything? Well, it's actually the limitations of your own understanding of what you're doing. The limits of YouTube that Michael talked about in literally the video before this, those are the constraint he's talking about. Somehow he misses this. But he didn't experience the constraint as constraint. He expressed it as achievement. As I said, huge humble brag bullshit. It's amazing. So, to talk about this, because I just have so much shit written. So you're going to have to tell me what, at some point, someone can say this doesn't make any sense, Brooks, which is fine. But the way this manifests and sets up is really interesting. To understand Han correctly and to set this up, Michael would have to see their achievement that they claim that they've defeated YouTube is a mechanism, is the mechanism of their own control. Their freedom is the constraint. They chose this format. They're continuing to choose this format and this setup and this place and streaming and all of this. Their success is auto exploitation. Their success themselves, the doing it as well as it can be done, the hyper efficiency. It can't be done any better. I count philosophy. This is just the end. But again, these are all not agents who achieved. They're achievement subjects that have been produced. The entire video collapses if Michael gets this, but this is the point of Burnout Society. And again, Kintsugi is brilliant. And I think the perfect way to talk about this, because the broken pieces stay broken. And what you do with the gold is highlight the breaks, give them color and flavor and edges, and put the whole thing together again without losing that. The failure of Michael to understand and communicate Burnout Society is a perfect way to actually come around the other side and use that as Kintsugi, as the gold, to layer it back in. That's the setup. What have you missed, George? Everything. So, the way this manifests in this previous video, Philosophy Can't Be Done Better on YouTube, we're doing this, is the maximum, optimal, efficient, mastered constraints, and the exemplars. To have this, it requires agency, freedom, achievement, and mastery. Fuck. I'm just stealing this from Han right now. This isn't even an interesting thing I'm doing. I'm just talking through the thing. So Han says, depression, which culminates in burnout, follows from overexcited, overdriven, excessive self-reverence that has assumed destructive traits. That's just a quote from Han. That's just straight up from the book. So saying philosophy is as good as can be done on the platform is excessive self-reference. All of his videos are about himself. It's masturbatory to like this extreme, putting himself at the center of it like he's the actor. This is hyper narcissism, but it's the hyper narcissism of the Burnout Society almost perfectly. So Han talks about it. And again, let's talk about Burns. Think through this process because Han talks about it. You declare maximum achievement, but you can't achieve or maintain that pace anymore. So you have self-hatred for falling behind and become burned out. More achievement comes along to prove your worth. You become exhausted. This process of saying, I mastered the format, shortly after saying that you were fired and you're failing and you need a whole bunch of people to subscribe to you so you can be successful, then saying that you've mastered all of it, and then putting out a video showing that you don't have a concept of philosophy. This is fucking crazy to me. I find it crazy. I find it it's just fucking crazy. So that's YouTube. We can get rid of that. We'll start with another one. There's a framework that Burns uses in a lot of his stuff. And it comes through, I think, in the Burnout Society very well. Other videos, again, without doubt, it's in all of it. But it is specifically therapeutic. Therapeutic. What did I write? Culture investment. Therapeutic culture, because we're talking about investments. Right? This is a framework, the Peterson-esque bullshit of the idea that psychological distress and the problems of it is not only nameable, we can diagnose it by giving it a good name like burnout or depression. It is explainable and it is addressable through understanding boundaries, rest, and community. This is the framework validates suffering at its base level. It validates it. Do you have any idea why? Validates suffering. See if anyone can guess it. Because it's the same big giant fucking crack. It validates suffering because it's your fucking choice, bitch. It's your choice. You made the choice. You did the thing. It's choice. Because the liberal subject made the decision to do this. Preserves individual agency while validating suffering. You're not broken. The system's breaking. And here's how you can cope. It's so great. It's so great. So it's validates suffering. Oh, no. No. You are broken. And it's not your fault. It's able to do that. Maintain all of that brilliantly. Absolutely. And then the choices comes along. You are broken. It's not your fault. You didn't choose this. Society's doing this. Now, here is the choices you can make. Here are the choices. You can make. Oh, I fucking hate this so much. This is like, people come to the QC a lot with this shit. They come to this QC a lot with this shit where they're like, we've had literal people join who are like, hey, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia last week, so I started anti-oedipus. I want to understand myself. That it's liberatory in this process. There is nothing in Burnout Society. There is none of this. Han offers Zero coping strategies. Big fat fucking zero coping strategies. It is a diagnostic of late capitalism. Same as Jameson, by the way. That's it. So, this is where we end up. We end up in a place where we've got, on the one hand, we've got problems that need understanding. This is just Han, basically. And solution. That's the setup that is being given to us. Problems with understanding, get to a solution. Han talks about this, and then he says explicitly, no subject. No subject. Instead, productive processes. Produce and producing processes. Doesn't matter. I don't care. This is, my hand is going to fail soon, and I'm getting tired. And then no exit through individual action. That's what Han says explicitly. So that, to me, is another element of this. Boop, save you. Boop, and trash you. A thing that's in there that I also want to bring up, because it's important, I think, as we talk about these things, is the underlying structural way that Burns does his videos. Why would Bergson's brain generate perception? Me no understand. Why would the brain generate perception at all? As a lot of people think, for example, like with Deleuze, they still think thinking is a thing, like you're thinking. No, your brain and you are also reacting and dealing with the world as it happens. Your brain doesn't generate a perception. Your brain's apperceiving. There's a difference, as I understand it again. I might be off. Underneath all of it for Mike, we'll switch back to, we'll do white for this. You guys spend a lot of time with pedagogy? Pedagogy. Doesn't have anything to do with kids. Not in that way. Pedagogy has to do with teaching. It's how we teach. It's educational style content. And pedagogy as a framework is something that comes through a lot in a lot of Michael's videos. Pedagogy of the Oppressed, phenomenal book. There's a handful of really good books around pedagogy just in general. And I think that's an interesting thing to sort of play with. But here, what we have is very specific. We have how pedagogy normally is done, is summarize, then explain, and usually it's light, and then apply. This is how teachers do shit with everything. So, all right, mathematics, where addition is where you take things and you put them together, and it's an additive process. The reason we do this is blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to apply it. If I have 2 apples and you have 2 apples, done. Summarize, explain, apply. But this process has issues. But again, sets it up. It's one, it works well for people on YouTube because you're explaining things, and this process of summarize, explain, and apply is what people went to school for. It's what they spent time doing. Even if you dropped out at 16, like this was everything to you. This is how parents explain things to kids very often. It's traditional pedagogical framing. But the challenge is this first one. We'll just start with the first one, because summarizing a very, very large, complicated book that has many, many concepts within it, you're going to fuck up. So for Han, for example, and we'll switch up, we'll go red here. For example, let's say you fuck up and you don't mention achievement subject. which is kind of like the fucking book. It's kind of really big in there. How about auto-exploitation? Let's say you don't actually mention these as a thing. Let's say you do this and you fail these guys. Let's say you don't make them usable as concepts for people. You don't find a way to actually have that conversation with them to show their relevance. If you don't do this, you've kind of failed. Because, and this is, again, why Michael and Philosophy Tube and all of them are doomed to fail. Because they, one, they don't care about what they're talking about. But two, these two things just at a basic, there's a lot of concepts. Let's just talk about these two. Han is doing what's called a systemic critique. How you doing, kids? Welcome to school. If you do not understand what a systemic critique is, that's fine. It's fine. Not everyone gets the setup. If you're building a system, every piece is important. If I were to say, for example, a video game system, pick all the rules out for Mario, and then I just decide to leave jumping out. The levels don't really work for that. Controls don't really work for that. And it breaks because systemically it requires cohesive totality of its analysis. The achievement subject needs to be outside of and dealt with in the immunological paradigm, outside of analysis of how auto-exploitation produces this subject itself, and outside the crises of gratification. Once you've not talked about those things, which are really deep and kind of multiple chapters of the book, and instead you say, it's really just people who achieve a lot, you have fucked everyone's understanding, and you have done nobody a service in teaching them at all, in any way. Byung-Chul Han is a very systemic. Hey, you may not like him. Some people don't. That's fine. But to say he's like not worth it or that it's not systemic is silly. Everything he does is so deeply ensconced inside of systems-based thinking that to just leave that shit out or simplify it to like, yeah, it's just people who like achieve a lot has nothing to do with that. People achieved a lot in previous versions of Capital. What the fuck are you talking about? So, when you do the pedagogy of this and you miss this, you actually do none of it. You end up with none of it. Okay? Yeah, it's more than the what. Again, Michael doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit about philosophy, nor does he have any intention of doing it. He's not good at this, nor does he want to be, which is a shame. It's a shame. But, people take views as they do. Since the brain is part of the image of the universe, where is the freedom to choose? There is no, look, there's going to be a lot of questions about what you mean by freedom, what you mean to choose, what you mean by brain, and what you mean by image. Like, it's a hell of a statement to say, where's the freedom to choose? I don't believe there is a such thing as an agency of choice. I also don't believe in determinism. So, determinism basically means that you have understood or believed that you can condition everything that comes in the future through understanding it through previous paradigms. We know that's not true. Determinism's fucking stupid. You can justify it post hoc, but it's fucking stupid. But also, you don't have a personal choice or grasp. There's too many forces at work, and you are the battleground of them. So there's no such thing as personal choice. Both of those are just basically the false dichotomy, and you need to step outside of it. Do you know of any good works that examine Nietzsche and the Tao? If you join our server, ping a guy whose username is 3, at 3, is Ben, lovely dude. He does, Darren's in here. And Darren knows. We have a couple people who are like That's their jam. That's their jam is this. And they would know more than me. I haven't done the Taoist with Nietzsche thing. I probably would avoid that for the most part, but I'd be interesting to read. Everyone loves Ben. So let's get this one captured. Whoop, boop, 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 boop. And let's talk about the narrative that is threatened. Because the threats underneath all of this are what is, again, what is breaking, what is forcing these things apart, that's not allowing these pieces to be together as they are. Because if Burnout Society is the original cup, we've now got shattered pieces. Why? What broke? This applies more in the previous section, but how does perfectionism apply to this? So, look, Burnout Society is a very easy read, and I don't think in the next 5 minutes I can do it justice. There's a PDF. If there's not, I'll have a PDF in the server very shortly. But the very short version is that capitalism has shifted, and one of the things it's done is things have become more intellectualized, and as things become more intellectualized and abstracted, we actually end up in a place where it seems like we have more freedom. We're not on the factory floor. We're doing other work. We're there, but we're kind of everywhere constrained because that intellectual work can be done everywhere and is done everywhere. And actually we find ourselves doing it everywhere, not in a grind set pushing it way, but instead as a production of society way. Burnout Society is a very easy read, actually. I would very much recommend it. So the misreading that we've got here, the pieces, even though it's broken, preserves some things. Does that make sense? It's kind of a weird thing kind of a weird way to put it. 1 second. Let me see if I can get my fucking microphone to goddamn stay in the right place. Does not look like it. Let's find out. On the one hand, we have the liberal progress. And these are narratives, right, as a thing. So that setup is the idea of liberal progress, as we talk about it today, is there was bosses that are now gone. Yay! Aren't we cool? We're so awesome. But we misuse. This is more or less going through Burnout Society, by the way, George, if you want to just watch. But we misuse it. We make the mistake of misuse. I think mistake of misuse is the critique Han literally makes in the book. God damn it. And with that, since we misuse that, if we understand that we're misusing it, we can do better. So it's a liberal project, right? Liberal progress narrative. But it also maintains the agential subject. You can see my hand is getting tired. This is preserved. This makes it through the entire thing, the entire concept. Again, the first and the second, all of this. I make choices. I wrote this down like a child, and I don't intend it that way, but it just is how it comes across. I know when they're bad. I shouldn't have written it like this. When they are bad. I know when they're bad. I can be different. This is can you tell I have a lot of disdain for this view of the world? And smartness makes better choice. Okay, that's the agential subject. This carries through Michael's video almost perfectly. In a depressing, fucked up way, but it does. Other things. I call it redemptive understanding because it feels like it's got this edge to it. So let's talk about that. The redemptive understanding. The redemption in understanding might be better. No, redemptive understanding sounds good. The idea here is that knowledge is power. You know that saying, right? This is not true, by the way, just generally speaking. Knowledge is power, therefore understanding is step one, right? And once we understand, we can build communities. That pay us money on Patreon and YouTube. This is what the fucking video was. I don't give a shit. We can build community and resist the onslaught. Yeah, I think that's how I'd phrase it. That's what Michael does. And all of these are shit because all of these are Michael's things that sort of carry through. If you can understand yourself, you change the world type. Yeah, it's not even a good nuanced version of it. Like, again, I think there's some version of that we could make arguments about, that Klosowski's talking through Nietzsche, or Nietzsche's talking about through his high tonality, or the way that the grasping of how to make yourself a BWO. But this is not like things you're wholly aware of. This is the awareness of yourself and then the emergence back into, and that vibration. But none of these things have that. These are the things Michael carries through. So instead, if Han were to have written this video, it would have to say, first, I wanted green. I wanted green to oppose the red. That was the idea. Fuck you. You are not an agent. You don't make choices. You do not choose. Understanding is not tools of resistance at all. There is no you outside production. And it would say this video is the problem. The entire YouTube philosophy pop genre bullshit is basically implicated, which is why these fucking types of analysis are so useful to me and why I find them really interesting, because this is all of them. Pick one. Pick Jonathan Bai or any of that shit. All of these. This is the thing they're all doing. This is the thing they're all selling. It's perfect. It's perfect. Save you. Yeah. There basically it implements it comes out against the entire genre. And you can see it just in the structure of the thing that is repeated over and over. That's why this type of analysis is so much better. Now, what about a positive task? Let's talk about preconscious investments. Sorry, we're going to do it. We're diving in. Okay. So, for those who aren't aware, humanity kind of exists in a funny way. And when we talk about the preconscious, and then we have the unconscious. Oh my God, my brain. Why can't I spell this? This is terrible. Jesus. It's been a long day. You have on the preconscious side, you have interests. On the unconscious side, you have investments. Now, how this works and why they're different. Your unconscious is just forces. They're forces. It's all the forces that make you up, whether it's affective, connective, biological, pushing, feeling, but everything. Unconscious pile of forces. Uncouscous. Then you have your pre-couscous. Okay? I have a couscousier. I should make fucking couscous in a few days. I fucking love couscous. I actually have a proper couscousier. Yeah, look it up if you haven't ever made with one. It's amazing. They're Moroccan. Ugh, some of the best fucking couscous. As the forces come together, this is your unconscious. This isn't the end of the process. These become involved with as you intellectually understand the world. That intellectualization of the world, your social position, what you need to be doing, your duties, your obligations, whatever it is, your social connection to other people, how you're related, is another layer to this. These two things become your unconscious and your preconscious. Okay? And I'm actually going to see if maybe I can. No, but I can. Let me expand that out so you get there. There it is, preconscious. The difference between these may seem small, but we'll get sort of into it. The preconscious interests are how people see themselves, where they see their position in things. Okay? So for example here, and we're going to just go through a bunch of these. This is going to be, where are the investments? What are the interests? The interests are pretty easy. They're, Jacques Rancière has a wonderful book called The Philosopher and His Poor. I adore it because there is I'm here to make big knowledge accessible. I make the complex simple for dum-dums. And I mean that. It's important as part of it. It is seeing yourself as someone who is able to do that, who's able to make the gap between the worst and the biggest, or the smallest and the largest minds. These very complicated things. Byung-Chul Han is not he's very accessible, actually. It's depressing that you can't get him right, Michael. But this is, I am this. I am giving you, like philosophy, I am giving you a philosophy degree for free. Because you shouldn't have to pay for it. This is what Big Think does. Absolutely. Jonathan Bai does this. All these other fucking scummies, pieces of shit. They are helping you dum-dum. They are connecting to, and I say this with seriousness, even if it sounds like I'm not, connecting to real life. My job, as I am trying to tell you about the BWO, is to try to take it down from the ivory tower and the egghead and weirdos. It's to bring it down, to help you understand these complex things. Because those guys in the ivory tower, there's no the that's what they're doing. That's part of it. It's built in. They see themselves as encouraging intellectual pursuits. Okay? And they see themselves as helping the suffering. This is not a judgment thing. This is the language they use constantly. 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 But let's talk about unconscious investments. Unconscious investments are very complicated to understand, especially since we tend to talk about things intellectually. It's not that you're invested in a thing. No. Unconscious things are invested in a way that is not personal, object-based, set up in that way. That's not what it does. That's not its jam. What the unconscious does is it drives directly at sort of fills in structure. So let's say you go to school, your first day of school, right? And you're a little kid, you got your backpack, you walk in and you see the outline of the class, where everything is in relation to each other. Think of it as a diagram of the world. It's the first thing you see. And as you're moving through it, that diagram becomes repeated and more clear, moment to moment, experience to experience. These areas, these places, these setups, teacher stands there. This is where she gets angry. This is where she's upset. This is where the bathroom is. This is where the TA stands, all that stuff. This is where that girl sits. This is where my friend sits. I want to sit there. I can't sit there. This is where the kid fell. All these things. This is constant. And you see the content inside of it. You see that girl, that boy, the teacher, blah, blah. But those are the things. In this milieu is a consistency that all of you is pulsing through and in and out every moment that you're having experience. The relations of everything, the structures of everything, the arrangement of all of that stuff, well, it may change, has a consistency. And as the impulses you have push in and out, and you're digesting it over and over, these are the things you become invested in. So, for example, when the new kid shows up, if he sits in a chair that he shouldn't have, as far as the class was concerned, everyone would gasp or be confused or slightly upset because their investment is in the structure. They don't care about that chair. They don't care about that child. They don't care about the content. Doesn't matter. It changes constantly. But the investment, that's the fucking jam for desire, for impulses. So, to do this, we have to talk about what's actually being produced and how it's being produced. Because what are you being invested in? Well, the first thing is easy. Platform optimization. I like doing that sometimes, meet new people, shake it up. It's one of my favorite things. There's a lot of ways to do it, and it's just by being a little bit more kind, which confuses people. Sit in a place you're not supposed to, sit in a way that breaks the mold. Lots of fun things you can do to fuck with it. But Mr. Burns, it is the platform optimization. It's YouTube, obviously. But it's not just YouTube. It's again, not the direction. It's the optimization of it. It is the content designed, because his function structure is identical every time. His content has the structures designed for the algo and plugs into the algo and that machine. He's clearly invested in the idea of, and it's in all of his videos, this therapeutic nonsense. The phrasing I used is therapeutic validation. He can do it by naming suffering, but preserving agency. This is this investment pulsing in and out, pulsing in and out, pulsing in and out, pulsing in and out, right? The weird thing that I think is it's hard to word this, and I think that's what he's pushing at when he calls it limit philosophy on YouTube. It is. Well, he's invested in and doesn't realize it. And this is the thing that kind of makes it, he's clearly invested in the status quo. And it's not, again, the status quo, it's this president, that president. It's the liberal order, I think. I have it written down as the weird way he performs what he's critiquing. Right? But the last thing, and it's I don't know any other way to talk about this. It is commodity as fetish, content as commodity, mostly as a thing. So he's got, and you talk about sort of the ways he's plugged into this. You have social machines, for example, plugged into this YouTube apparatus that he is tearing with and dealing with and monetizing, and the metrics and pushing people to fucking Patreon and all that shit. The therapeutic culture machine I talked about earlier with this self-help discourse where it is this weird, I don't know, like fucking religious Catholic sort of weird guilt of personalization. It's very strange. It's very strange. And so it's all of those. And so you end up in this really fascinating place. And I can actually, we'll do this at the bottom here. Let me get that gone. And let me put it back just a little bit and because I think there's an interesting play to make here to talk about sort of the secondary beast of this. We'll do, I haven't done blue in a while. Because as we're going through this, the thing that's happening, all of these investments, we have to consider what is being not just invested, where's the satisfaction coming from? Right? Like, where's the satisfaction coming from? So for Burns, and we'll put him on the left here, the idea that he's getting this across and having it validated, it is the validation of the validation. Validating of suffering. And this carries across. This is both sides. It's not just Burns who does it, but he, by putting it in here and having that validated through views and other people, is able to find satisfaction in that immediately. He's able to have, and again, to just take Han's words, he's actually able to have achievement. I don't know how else to talk about it. Achievement satisfaction. Because again, this is this fucking video of all things he's going to do this on. And he's able to, my favorite, even though he plays at it, I didn't want to do this video, but he's able to be productive in a performative way. Which is like, holy shit. I'm not even sure like Byung could have even considered that would have happened. It's fucking crazy. Like, it's almost comedic level as a thing. The audience is able to, and again, none of this is about specifics, but they're able to get hope, optimism, which I in here is just to steal a great book. The title of it, this is Cruel Optimism. The worst kind. It's cruel optimism is often, which Byung-Chul Han is, it's Burnout Society. Literally, I'm just talking about Burnout Society, which is hilarious given his name's fucking Burns and he fucking got this wrong. There's so many layers to this. He talks about community throughout it, like I said, and I think this is also something that people get to have and people feel satisfaction with. And they also gain permission. It's one of the things that when you say that all of us do a thing, everyone feels better doing it. My kids fart a lot. So do I. So does my wife. So we all do. Humans fart. when you're around people who don't allow farting or they make it a big deal, you don't do it as much. But the moment you just don't have a care about it, your kids think it's the funniest fucking thing in the world to fart. Because the permission of the thing, by saying it's okay to do this, people do it more often. So there's a permission and a permissivity performatively being done in Michael's work. Right? And I hate this. I fucking hate this. It's awful. And, I'm talking about it being not a choice, but it is a choice. But also, don't worry about it. You're good. I don't judge you. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. There's always an invitation to fart. Then the last thing, and I think I hate it the most, is it's sort of action without the call. It's not a call to action, but there's stuff you can do. Oh, there are things that can be done. That's the mentality. There are things that can be done. How happy am I? So, all of this. These are the pages. Let me get this last one saved so I can make sure that I have this. So far, we've gone over the cracks, the repairing of them, and then there's the last step. And I'm actually just going to sort of switch back to the other style of feed where it's just me. How you doing? It's me, Brooks. I hope you're well. Where we can kind of talk about it from the, hey, here's what's happening here. So when I have the cup rebuilt, like again, this literal thing that we're doing here, I'm going to be turning into a Kintsugi video. I'm going to be setting it through that. We're going to be having a discussion and making our way through a live stream as I rebuild it, maybe 2 or 3 large discussions about each one of these points. Cause none of this is simple stuff. Like, I'm not sure Michael could do a short book right, but he cannot do a big one correctly. And we're not gonna give him satisfaction of like also being satisfied. Oh, it's fine, just simple. No, we're doing the whole thing. So that's the steps. Then when we have the final cup rebuilt, this will be the cup. I'm gonna go through. We're gonna literally on the inside, we're gonna paint all the things. We're gonna name all of the different breaks. Like we're actually gonna end up with a piece at the end of it. That's the idea. Spoiler, I know. Why am I bashing the Burns guy again? I'm not bashing the Burns guy. We're going over his horrifying misunderstanding and utilizing his misunderstanding to build a new setup, because his understanding is actually a fantastic way for us to build something new. And that new thing is something where people can actually learn and understand how the world is dysfunctional, but also how to see and read things. As we have, it's puppy. Dottie girl. What are you doing? No? Wow. You're just ignoring me. Wow. She's just ignoring me. Damn it, Dottie. Yes, this is what philosophy is. This is philosophy. I don't give a fuck about Michael Burns. That's why we're not doing like a response to him. We're building a cup, rebuilding it. And then at the end of it, the goal would be that we actually have something that is a piece that we can talk through. Bro's about to pull us on. Yes. Dottie girl. See, she doesn't even react. This dog. I just need to turn that voltage up. Nope, nothing. She's actually just over there. I can hear her farting. And sticking her nose under the door. Goddamn dog. What are you doing? Oh, now you're happy, huh? I know I could hear you fart 3 or 4 times. Did that make you happy? There's a little tail going. So this is the idea. So when we get to the end and we start actually having this discussion and we're like, hey, so what is it we can take from this? And what is the finished cup? The finished cup should be ideally a line of flight of sorts, or a series of them, or that the breaks should be something that people can take something from and look at and not attach to Michael. Because again, this is probably the last time I'm going to be talking about him. We're going to be talking about the video. He's not the focus of it. The poor broken cup is. And here the break basically occurred because this text's investments require subjects as agents, but Han is the opposite. It is subjects as products. So when you as a creator, and this, again, the whole point is to sort of depersonalize this, but when the creator is plugged into machines that demand agency, and when they're invested in these machines that demand agency, and YouTube does that, therapeutic culture does that, educational content producer does that, achievement economy through Byung-Chul Han does that. These machines produce this sort of impulse flux towards relatable elements. That's the setup. Nameable problems that everyone can understand, normative positions on those. Actionable understanding has to be part of it every single fucking time. It has to be about validating your own achievement, but others. You have to move away from ontological claims, economic mechanisms, foreclosure of agency as a concept, and the implication of what you're doing. Han's text is plugged into machines that demand systemic analysis. Period. The machines produce what they do towards showing subjects that they are produced and how production happens and how they're produced by the very freedom they experience as constraint. That thing. There's a beauty in this, and it's why I think most YouTube philosophy does this, because most of it's trash. But certainly this video literally performs what Han describes while trying to explain it. And it's magic in that way. Eric Andre, with a fucking 2 doctoral theses and 20 years, could not have done a better fucking job showing the thing. The video's doing the thing. So we end up out the other side. This is the fulcrum, the moment we talk about it. Again, I'm going through format. I'm going to end up watching this and coming through, but I'm outlining a format as we do this. But the final bits where I actually go through and we name the seams and we talk through them, because the seams are supposed to be the things that are repairing. They are supposed to be the bridge gap, the thing that fills it, that enables people who watch the other video to come to this video or my video to watch the other video and be informed and actually come away with, through this sort of complex interaction, more. The first seam, the performative trap of achievement subject discourse. This is absolutely one of the seams as I see it, that you cannot come out the other side without this critique being built in. Achievement subjects cannot diagnose achievement subjectivity from outside of it. That's not how any of this works. Any attempt to explain Han's analysis requires positioning as knower, communicator, authority, and achiever. But those positions are achievement subjectivity. This can be communicated, but if you're not communicating this, that there is no option, I'm not making choices, this is the fucking way that this works. If you're not making that central to it, you're fucked. You have to talk about the achievement subject trap. This is a tool, a seam that I think help me word this if you like, that's fine. You can go into the QC when I'm done and you can yell at me all you want. But at a basic level, that's what I'm talking about. There is an achievement subject trap. Any discourse about achievement subjects has to be produced by achievement subjects who can't see themselves as produced without threatening the discourse that enables them to exist in the first place. Right? Following? It can be talked about, and that's the thing. This is a new tool. It's a new tool. That is a new tool I have not seen. There you go. 2, we have to talk about platform materialism. Platforms do not exist as neutral conduits. They're not that. They are machines that produce specific forms of subjectivity, and they foreclose other types of subjectivity. That's it. YouTube builds affordances and conditions you to produce creator subjects who experience auto-exploitation as achievement, the thing I just talked about, viewer subjects who seek therapeutic validation and satisfaction, and content that has to preserve agency to justify existence. The same way that YouTube requires you to think that the recommendation engine is not making selections for you, it's just showing you stuff you just didn't know you wanted. As soon as that conversation changes and people go, oh God, I'm just being shown shit I don't want. Well, you're not going to be on YouTube anymore, which kills my ability to communicate with you. So therefore I have to build content that doesn't do that. The platform itself is forcing you to build content that fucks this up. Michael Burns sucks, but he's produced as a suck. He's a sucky production. That's the thing. So instead, we have to talk instead about, here's a term, platform incommensurability. There are flatly theoretical positions that cannot be easily communicated or directly communicated on platforms because they exist counter to the platform and subjectivity the platform creates. This is going to be different in minor ways and major ways on every platform. But no, George, they're not as a tool. Yes, but you need to be aware of what the tool is, and you need to be aware of what the tool encourages, and also that the tool is conditioning a subjectivity that requires that you not talk about certain things. The platform produces subjectivities incompatible with certain theoretical positions. That's the fucking thing. That's the thing. Third thing. Hahn writes about how there's this process, and it's a metabolization. He's big into biopolitics, and I'll give him this. And I want to just talk through the way that there's sort of a metabolic absorption, which is phrasing he uses, but I don't think he turns it into anything. And I think we should, because I think this process, as we're seeing in this type of content, speaks volumes of it. Hahn writes that you have this diagnosis that creates achievement subjects. And when you have that, the achievement subjects read it as achievement. The moment you diagnose them in any capacity, oh, you're burned out. Oh, fuck. It's achievement. That understanding then becomes content. Explaining it becomes productivity. Mastering Hahn becomes gratification for people. And then the critique becomes fuel for the thing it is critiquing. There is a digestion process that these platforms and communities go through. I'm calling it metabolic absorption because that's what Hahn kind of talks about it as. In other books, these words have been around. I'm hardly inventing anything. I'm just pulling it back out because this metabolic absorption exists in a very particular way. The system feeds on its own critique, and it is not in the very simple way we talk about, capitalism just finds a way to make everything work. That's again, baby brain. No, talk about how it happens. And it happens because there's processes. There are organs and machines digesting. And as they digest and as the metabolic absorption happens, and you end up in this place where it's pablum. This is the setup. Late capitalism does not suppress critique. It doesn't need to. You're free. It converts critique into achievement, and that opportunity becomes an opportunity for achievement subjects, in Hahn's words. The metabolic absorption is real, and absolutely Michael is produced by this. We talked a lot, and I mentioned a lot because it's central to Burnout Society, but this therapeutic framework that we live in, therapeutic validity, how we talk about it in Michael's words throughout all of his videos about how it's like this thing we can cure and things we can fix, all this shit, right? All of this shit requires that suffering be something we can name and talk about and be specific about. That understanding that suffering provides relief, that knowledge enables coping, and ultimately the subject, the liberal identity subject, the I, agency person, can remain intact. We have lots of radical theory. I read a lot of that. And it's this thing is, you are not who you think. Understanding doesn't change mechanisms. Subject is effect, not cause. There's no intact you to cope better. And therapeutic culture takes this and domesticates it to say the system affects you, but understanding the system will help you manage it. And I want to talk about this in terms of that reduction. Therapeutic reduction is, I think, a tool we have now to start noticing, hey, you're doing the therapeutic reduction. You're making this move. You're taking this ontological claim about what subjects are and turning it into phenomenological claims about what subjects experience. And again, preserving the liberal agency idea, making structural production into experiential content. This therapeutic reduction, I'm seeing it heavily in Michael's. It's in so many of these fucking works. So many people around deleuze, guattari, and others. It's awful. I have no interest in it. And I think it's very, very important. Therapeutic reduction. And then the fifth of these, I call productive blindness. And it's really weird because if you are someone who is critiquing platform capitalism while being platform content creators, and you're not taking that other step, right? Not realizing that, as we've talked about, you have to be an achievement subject in Han's words, right? Well, criticizing achievement subjectivity. You have to declare your achievement valid while showing achievement subjectivity is the problem. It seems hypocritical. It's not. It's hard to talk about because people don't want to talk about it when they talk about these things. They tend to just skip past it and not acknowledge it or simply be blind to it. It is structural entrapment that if you do not identify and do not talk about, we cannot be aware of. Not in the sense of we can fix it, but the critique gives people then tools to be able to build differently, to be able to handle things differently. So productive blindness is, to me, this incomplete self-awareness that allows for that type of hypocrisy or structural entrapment to happen, where in this case, Han's par excellence achievement subject can critique achievement society, but literally just doing auto exploitation throughout the entire thing. It's, I miss when critiques that failed to critique at least felt punk. This is exactly my point, because you don't have to like upend or explain. If you can just be talking about the thing in a way that gets things across, giving people tools. But productive blindness is death for this. It's death for this. So those tools give us seams. They're ways to fix seams. They're tools we can take forward. And they then become, in my process of building this, they then become very short 5-10 minute, probably 10-minute videos explaining the concepts and going through them themselves. They're new things made. They're new things to talk about and to start pushing and to start getting people to critique and shit on. Fine. But to build and put out there, they are tools. And they're tools that people can run with and people can do things with. That's the part I adore. In the end of it, there's a beauty to the fact that we end with a cup with gold seams, and that Michael's video is, I don't think it could have been done more perfect for this, because The idea that we end up in a place where Han's own analysis somehow itself becomes an achievement amongst achievement subjects and then used as a critique of capital to further push auto-exploitation is, I mean, just magic. Magic. With this, the break is productive. That's the point. It's not a negation. It is a productive break. And then the cup, and it seems, and all of this at the end of this, take a week, all of it goes into its own piece, and it becomes the thing into the collection. I have 6 of them. We're going to do 5 of these, and if it continues, we'll continue it. But that's the idea. So, you people, what'd you think? That's the idea. That's me running through the whole thing. It's a lot. But I think it's great. You should one Kintsugi for each video. No, I'm literally, that's literally the point. This is the cup and saucer that we'll be doing Michael Burns' video with, to build something productive and to build a break that is productive. Grandma's teacup, broken. Goodwill's teacup. They are Japanese. So they're Noritake. Japan, I guess. I don't know. Didn't matter. They're porcelain. They're the right size, the right shape, and the right color for all of it. They have the little edges. So that way when I do the gold seam, it stands out more. A whole bunch of fun stuff like that. Cool. As you think about it and as you give it time, don't hesitate to give feedback, to think through it, to all of that. I've got finally finishing up. I've got so many videos to record. It's been a long couple weeks. I've talked about this before. Money is not in a fun place, but I've done work enough now, and I'm not, nothing illegal or anything, but just stuff I'm just don't have passion for, that I'm learning about and I hate. But we live in a world of exceptional cynical development, and that's the way it works. Sometimes, okay, just been tired, and it's just been a lot. So as I move forward and as we do this, the goal would be, this is going to be about a week. I have Kintsugi is going to be starting tomorrow. And we're going to make multiple streams and videos. I've got a bunch of recording to do. And then the final video, which is going to be its own thing. It's going to be a full pre-recorded. There's going to be so much content from this, I think. There's going to be a lot of content from this. It's going to be the live streams. It's going to be the physical thing. It's going to be all of the posts around it, commentary, having other people comment. And then outside of the streams, there's going to be, in this one, there are 5 concepts that each deserve their own short video. And then there is a longer entire video. So there's just a lot of content that's going to come from it. And yes, everyone gets to be there when I smash it. And I'm going to be doing a slow-mo thing. It's going to be great. So that'll be good. Trying to think what else. That's about it, I think. It's a lot. We're not going to smash it tonight, guys. Don't get too excited. I'm going to put it in a bag. No, you can actually do this in a white box with a small hole for the camera, and then hit it with a fucking hammer. Or drop it onto a brick. Not quite sure which. We're going to be experimenting with the best ways to create cups for Kintsugi. So that's the setup. And yes, that's fair. Actually, let's go back and talk about that for a moment. And then I'm going to probably send you off to our friend. Hey, how you doing? OperationInflation.com. OperationInflation.com. The idea is simple. We're going to be getting a bunch of inflatable costumes. They cost anywhere from it's sale time right now, so we're lucky. But simple. OperationInflation.com. We inflate every one you buy. We make sure we're going to get one delivered to the protesters, and we're going to have the most ridiculous fucking ICE agents that they've ever looked in the history of the world. They're just going to look dumb as fuck. We literally already, we've passed $800. And so it's a lot of costumes. We're going to be delivering a lot of costumes, and it's going to be awesome. And they're going to look really great. We have people doing it in other cities. Portland's where we're starting. And if it ends up becoming a thing, it becomes a thing. If this picks up over the next week, I'm going to be doing a lot of fun political sort of hitting and news people. I'm going to be banging up a lot of news stations and producers I know. So this will be fun. But if you can't donate, don't. Fucking don't. No. But if you happen to have an extra couple bucks, these are all going to be going towards that. And we're going to make sure that you are aware of which one showed up for you. So that way, when you see stuff on the news and you see something important, you can go, yeah, that's my costume. Yeah. True Americans, not Nazis. Not Nazis. Not Nazis. Pretty sure we never signed a peace treaty with the Nazis. Did you know that? Weird thing. With Germany. Weird thing. Weird stuff. Weird ways that works. Weird ways history works. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a whole thing. 50 CAD? It's 35. Canadian money is silly, so I have no idea what it is. But it doesn't matter. You are not here buying costumes for yourself. You are buying them for an art project. That is my thing I'm going to continue to say, where we make sure in the cold months, warm inflatable costumes fill the streets. Also, yes, I will agree with that. Fuck ICE. Seriously. And fuck all this. Like, here's where we're at as a country, if you want to know. And I'd be happy to war game this out with someone and have this discussion. I don't believe a civil war is coming. And I don't think the military, if Trump ever says like, well, just get these blue states, like everyone's worried about him doing this for like the elections and shit. Look, I'm not a fan of military as a thing. They couldn't hold Iraq. Not really. They couldn't hold Afghanistan. There's like a handful of cities in each one of those. How about 30 plus heavily blue cities? How many like millions of people in each one of them? How many troops do they think they have? Like, dude, people have a fantasy in their head about what a civil war is because we hear stories about the American Civil War, or we see stories about, civil war in Yemen, or genocide in Myanmar, or civil war in, fucking Syria, whatever you want to say. America is different. This is not an American exceptionalism thing. America is a country the same way the EU is a country. Germany's Texas. Okay? That's the Nazis were able to hold Germany and invade a couple of Texas invading like Georgia through Kentucky would kind of be similar. And the rest of America is still there. The way power and consolidation of power in military works is not magic. It's people and material conditions and the way supply lines work and how these things go. It's insane. The idea that they're going to take everything over with the military is just not feasible. But there's a couple reasons for that. One is my favorite line, which is it's cheap to pay someone to kill people. ICE proves that. You can find bigots everywhere. It's really expensive to find people to die. That, you tell me how many people are going to be willing to go to Chicago once the shit really hits the fan. How many people are going to be wanting to do that? And by the way, dropping the paratroopers in, the reason they want to do that is because they can do that until this actually is what they call it. They say shit like, this is an insurrection. Fuck you. It's a judge deciding a thing and a couple of people in inflatable costumes outside of ICE. This ain't any of those things. Texas is 31 million in Texas. I'm not talking about the number of people, the size. There's the number of cities, the number of sizable cities. This is not a country. The Civil War did not happen across the entire country. We have this line idea of like, oh, here's where the war, there were spats. There were wars fought on like 3 fronts and 3 areas. That's where it really happened. There was not like this is not people. War doesn't happen in like lines on Civ where you move from one hex to another. They happen in groups in cities and people like that. The U.S. is so fucking big. Fuck it. We're going to just take a moment because if you haven't seen this, local vocals broken. It makes me so sad. This is one of my favorite maps. And you should always check it out. Always. And we're going to go here and we go. Boom. This is the true size of. You ever seen it? You should. This is like the best website when you want to have a conversation that's meaningful. Because a country versus a country is kind of silly when we don't understand how it works. So let's remove you out of here. Here's America. See America over here? Look at this big old country, right? Well, let's compare it to, for example, the EU. This is a big country. This is a very, very, this is World War II as a whole. Basically, like this is a level of insane. This is huge. There isn't a way to have a war like this. There isn't a war. This is not. Here is Afghanistan. Afghanistan is Texas plus. It's about Texas square footage. I want to say it's not far off people wise. Here's Iraq. Iraq is less than Texas. There have been talks about that. Syria. Syria is like Washington State. Like Washington State. Maine and Syria and like Vermont and New Hampshire. Like it's an insanely large area. India's fucking huge, by the way. India's fucking huge. It's always cool. China? Yeah. China, not uncomparable size-wise. People-wise, very different. But like this requires so much more. We don't have a grasp of what it means to have a civil war like this. We don't. The American Civil War, which was probably one of the larger terms of civil war, because calling us a single country is confusing. Like, again, when you start talking about like, Russia's a single country. Well, yeah, but it's got like 4 cities. Like, this ain't the same fucking thing at all. China's the closest. China has a lot more people than us. India, a lot more people. And also remember, by the way, Africa's gigantic. Fucking huge. We're like 5 countries. It's huge. The setup for us is just not realistic. But again, Venezuela. We're wanting to invade Venezuela. We can't even handle our military does not have the ability to do this. Unless they're going to do, and even then, as someone said in chat, they can't do Gaza. Gaza is like there. It's Miami. Gaza's Miami. They can't even really control Gaza. Not really. They can genocide the shit out of it, but they can't really control it. What does it mean for Trump when he's doing this? Well, he wants to do these shows of force. He wants to scare people. He wants to feel like everyone thinks he's got a big dick. He doesn't. He's a coward and a loser. All these guys are really, really pathetic weirdos. Like, they're just sad. And that function that they exist in, they don't understand that it's not just sending troops somewhere. They thought this with Iraq, and they were wrong. They thought this with Afghanistan. They were fucking wrong. They thought this with Haiti, with Kosovo. Name a fucking place we've sent troops to be peacekeepers or anything else. We do not have the slightest concept of any of this shit. And on top of it, the number of cities we have that have multiple millions of people in densely populated areas, what are you going to do, bomb them? You're going to bombing campaign? No. Let's say, and I don't even believe this, the military decides to back Trumpy, right? And they're like, yeah, we're going to take care of those rioters. They're burning stuff down. We'll send in a few people. They are not going to be able to really do a lot. They will send in, I don't know, the 67th? Like, what the fuck? A paratrooper group? They're going to send in Navy SEALs? What are they going to do? Murder a lot of people. Shoot and kill. They're not set up for this. They barely are able to peacekeep in Afghanistan. And as soon as they're having to do it here, and then they're hearing about back home where their families are at, which, by the way, their families weren't in Afghanistan when they invaded it. Imagine if their families were. Would that have changed their mentality about things? Yeah, a lot. So this is all coming to a weird conclusion that we don't have the slightest idea what it's going to look like, but it ain't going to be the thing. It ain't going to be the thing. It's not possible for him to invade all the cities. It's not possible for him to order that the blue states don't vote. There is so many layers of ways things break between here and there. There's no way, and we're on our way right now. Right now, we're on our way to a Kent State moment. That's where we're at. If you don't know the story of Kent State, we went over on stream like 2 years ago now, right as the protests of post-October 7th, the protests of genocide on college campuses. We went really deep. And if you didn't know, they made it happen. The police, the government, the National Guard, they made sure it was going to happen. They made it happen, period. It was instigated. There were a lot of things that went wrong. There was a lot of violence that happened by right-wing people that caused kids to die. And as soon as that happens, as soon as it's some kids and they have photos of it, you can demonize them a little bit maybe. But you tell me how long that'll take before suddenly it's like, oh, wait. And then they do that in a few cities. How many times? Short version. The worst case scenario here is not happening. Civil war is not a thing in America. They're just going to stop paying national taxes in California and along the West Coast. New York will have to deal with something. Like, there's going to be weird shit legally happening, and it's going to destroy. This is the worst part. It's going to destroy us economically to the point where we may not recover. Like, it's going to be bad because the people who are the haves, they're going to be fine. The rest of us are not. There's not going to be work. There's not going to be food. There's not going to be anything. Our farmers grow soybeans for China and are in competition with another country we just gave $20 billion to because we don't care. We don't make food for ourselves anymore. We are not self-sufficient. And so as we go down this road, we're not making things. We're not doing things. We can't afford things. We don't have industry. Sure. But we're also destroying our intellectual industry because we no longer have developers. We no longer have any development for tech. That's not a thing we do. Outsourcing isn't even a thing we really do anymore. We're fucked. The economic thing is nightmarish. This other stuff, this is strongman bullshit. It's strongman bullshit. And I may have to eat my words at some point, and they find a way to, I don't know, invade 92 different cities with enough troops. I don't get it. It doesn't work. So what are they going to do? It's going to be bad. They're probably going to do awful shit to individuals that they know they can get away with because their base, who is made of the flyover states, that there's a reason we fly over them, is enjoying it being someone else. And they've found this way to conceptualize people as evil. And so they're happy to see that until a kid dies and girl's crying over him, until a Kent State moment. And even Kent State moment, by the way, that was tenuous, but it's enough. It's enough. Safe to say the U.S. will no longer continue to be N1 on the world stage. I actually worry whether or not there's a thing as the world stage in the next 4 years. That's where my worry is, because the capitalist system, and again, I'm not saying I love capitalism, but it's the thing we got. It's what enables us to have things that we have, from medicine to food to technology to gasoline. The way it all works and functions is what does this. And it's not functioning. And it's functioning less every day. It's getting worse every day. And as soon as things really start closing, again, January is it. Like, they've got to do all this stuff before the end of January. The end of January is when everything collapses. It's when, Medicare, Medicaid cuts happen. It's when we know the Department of Education payments stop. Every kid whose mom, oh, I'm so glad RFK's in there. I'm so glad he's listening and caring about us and our disabled autistic son. Oh, what? You're closing all the special needs schools in the country and making sure that there's no special needs education because almost 100% of that comes from the federal government, and you've just eliminated that? Yay! Like, that's going to be insane. That's way worse. Being scared about, like, oh, Trump's going to send in the fucking 67th to Portland. Why? Do it. You fucking pussy, do it. Because, one, it'll look insane. Have you seen the protesters? They're in green frog outfits, and there's soon to be more. They're fine. They don't have guns. You're going to drop in the 67th for what? My kids and I went to fucking Salt, like, we went and got ice cream in downtown Portland like 4 days ago. There's nothing. It's fine. There's a couple homeless people. There's a few areas that are kind of shitty. It's a fucking city. I lived at the corner of 6th and Folsom for forever. I lived in Los Angeles. Like, have you walked Skid Row? Portland's great. Portland's great. Why don't you go to the shitholes I've driven through in the fucking South? It's the worst fucking areas in the country. They had dumb fucks serving dumb fucks without any passion in their lives because daddy shit somewhere and now they've got to stay there. It's the worst people who hate everybody, who call people like me the F word because I have dyed hair. Like, yeah, those are the people that we need to be. No, fuck them. They're useless. These people are hurting. Help them. Like, this is insane. Drop the 67th. What are you going to do? They're not going to do anything. Because no matter what Hegseth's saying, and I will stand by this, if you know anyone in the military, the U.S. military specifically, a lot of countries are crap. And there are bad stories. I'm not saying there aren't. But if you know people in the military, the rules of engagement are a real big goddamn deal to these people. All of them. Like, they're nuts about it. And they're nuts about it when it's people they don't like. And they're very particular about it. There are rules. They're not going to like drop in and start murdering. And if they do, I hate to tell you, that's the turn. So do you want them to strike the first match that lights it? Or do you want them to do something that's so embarrassingly stupid that nothing happens? This is the decision. I'm hoping they do something embarrassingly stupid. More of it. June says, I may be attributing greater forethought to the administration here, but I see deployments of the Guard in very different light. From my view, these deployments aren't established to enact violence, but rather to normalize, prepare for intensified military presence. That's what I'm saying. There's no such thing as intensified military presence. There's not enough. Like, are they going to do it in Portland, Seattle, like 5 cities? They didn't have enough troops to do this over a year in Baghdad and multiple cities in Iraq and Afghanistan. They don't have, not even close. And that's with a different population than we've got. And also without their families. You start actually being military here and you start killing protesters. You're living in the front. Your family's in the front. Don't do that. Don't do things like that. None of this is like, what happens? Do they deploy how many troops to how many cities? To do what? And then those troops, what are they going to do? Stop people from going in? Harass people? If this is how you view that we could do this, sure, anything's possible. The number of fucking troops they would need, we don't have. We don't have. Let's go through the numbers. Let's do the numbers here. Let's see. How would I even start looking this up? Because it's military has so many fucking non-combat. And it's got to be. It ain't the Marines. Like it might be a few Marines, but let's find out. No, I don't need everyone in the military. See, this is the problem. U.S. has a huge number of people. All right. Let's see. Nope, that doesn't help me at all. What the fuck? Military force by branch. What is the source of this? I fucking hate this website. Let me see. Let me make sure this is a thing. All right. It seems fine. It won't show me the source. So there's, again, active duty army. That's not useful to me. I need to know how many. Army is not just people with guns. Everything that happens takes multiple people to make happen, and the machine to start a war has to start beforehand, and they begin that process, and there's people doing everything to make sure, because the soldier at the end of the line doesn't need a Jeep that breaks down, doesn't need a gun that's broken, doesn't need lack of ammo. Every step of it is all these people. Every step of it is a bunch of people. So for every soldier, there's something like 6 people in line. There's some stat that went through. It's like crazy. But again, the number of combat troops we have who are ready to go is not as big as people think. And when we start talking about how this is going to work and how it's going to go, I'm seriously don't understand how it could happen. I would need someone to sit down and explain with me every single step that it would take and what the soldiers would actually do. Because at this point, I know people in DC who have pointed and laughed and think the fucking National Guard's a joke. People in Portland, same thing. There's a normalization where you laugh at them because they're kind of dumpy fucking weird fucks. If you haven't seen the National Guard people, they're not, we don't send our best and brightest. Okay. Like you look at me like, there's dumpy fucking weird fucks. And that's it. And you kind of move on from there. And what's the fear? Where does the fear build? What are they going to, like, at what point? Well, it's when they start killing people. But at that point, it breaks. And when that seal's broken, when the John Brown moment comes in response, and the National Guard comes from the same state, when you recognize someone who kills someone, you mention it on Twitter, and everyone finds out where they live, how is this going to go? How do you want this to happen? How do you think this happens? This happens in the worst way possible with violence like you wouldn't believe. And again, Trump's doing it. Hegseth's doing it. These are people protesting. No one's setting anything on fire. These are people screaming and terrorizing the average American. The same way that Israel talks to children and tells them that every Arabic kid in Palestine who grows up will end up being a terrorist. So you have to kill them while they're children. Things they actually teach kids. It's fucked up. That thing they're doing right now. They're doing it. These are the people doing this. There will have to be a reckoning at some point, but I don't see how this happens. Not a real thing. Weirdo right-winger Second Amendment people are turning. You can see it on TikTok. You can see it on TikTok. Or at least you used to be able to. I don't know. TikTok's weird now. You can see it on YouTube. You can see it in forums. You can see it on like Reddit's conspiracy subreddit. They're all turning. There's a reason for that. The investment in Donald Trump, the emotional investment in the structure, is disappearing. And he doesn't have the room. He is failing mentally and physically, and everyone around him is panicking, trying to get things done before he checks out to the, burn in hell for eternity. And that won't do it. I don't see it. The ICE tear gassed a whole bunch of Chicago cops. Can I ask everyone here to spread a word to do something? If you didn't watch the video, the Chicago cops got tear gassed along with everyone else. And as that happened, it's like a dozen of them. They're burning and they're freaking out. And the protesters around them who were prepared for that can just yell at them. They just yelled at them. Just yelled at them. This is what you're doing. You're doing this, blah, blah. Don't do that. Help them. Help them. Approach them and say, hey, look, for 2 seconds, can I just help clear your eyes out? I've got the stuff. It worked on me. Can I just help you real quick and we can get on the other side? Help them out of the emergency for a moment. Treat them like a person, because they're going to be the hope. The National Guard will be the hope, because if the military is sent in, it's military from the other side of the country. People who live in a city or in an area, they're not going to take kindly to a lot of this for very long. And you need to understand how lines are being drawn. You have to understand. It is a tiny group. It is not us versus everybody in the system. Do not buy the Fox News bullshit and just turn into a left-wing reactionary bullshit version of that. Do not do this. Be the thing. The moment they're tear gassed, go, fuck. Take care of yourself, clean up, and go, hey, I have stuff. I'm happy to help you. I don't want anything. We just want to make sure you guys are good, because the last thing anyone needs is police who are tear gassed, who can't see very well, and are also freaking out because everyone's screaming at them. Don't aggravate that, shitheads. Help them. Help people. Help people. So when later that plays on Fox News and they say, even the protesters screaming at the police couldn't even help them, which they did. Do you think they're going to play the clip of the protesters helping the police against the military, against the ICE? Man, what a fucking moment that would have been if you had had that, you assholes. Realize we're in a PR war. There's no such thing as a civil war. None. Not in America. It's PR war. What is the equivalent of helping clear out the eyes of Michael Burns? Well, that's what I'm doing. That's the Kintsugi project. You can jump on quickly. I don't think we're disagreeing on much, but I have some thoughts as to what they're trying. I know what they're trying. They talked about it last time. Like, they're not hidden, June. And I'm not disagreeing that that's what they think, but they're really stupid people. And they're on a lot of uppers and ketamine. So, like, I'm agreeing that that's their goal. They're embarrassing and stumbling every step of the way. And I kind of want them to keep going. Because they are really stupid people. Have you heard them talk about like anything slightly meaningful for 5 seconds? They don't understand principles. They can't think systematically or abstractly. They literally lack the stuff that we test children for. They don't have that. Conservatives, what do you expect? This is why they like to bang kids. It's why they're libertarians, and it's why so many of people in Trump's cabinet are in the Epstein files, for God's sake. Just happens to be a whole bunch of them have been involved with the Epstein case ever since the first time. So, ooh, magic. No, it's because that's where they are. They've arrested development at an extreme level. And that's how they end up where the way they are. Again, Have empathy for that. Be aware of that. Structurally, we produced them as much as we produced anything else. Hitler and Trump were made. All of it was made. All of it's produced. All of us. Be aware of it. That's all you need, though. And then you need to get your goddamn frog suit. That's what you need to do. You get your goddamn frog suit. Is this an othering? And does this not apply to people? I literally just said all of us, including me. I don't know how. You have been a fucking prickly dude, Dan. You're a prickly motherfucker, man. Don't know what I did to you, but you have been a prickly motherfucker. But you know who else is a prickly motherfucker who I love? Do you know? Do you people know? It's easy. Kid Not Ken. Kid Not Ken right now is doing a marathon stream. Please head over and join and say hello. Ask him about inflation. It'll make his day. It'll make his day. I think it'll make his day. But tomorrow in the QC, we've got Klosowski. I'll be here at noon tomorrow, and we'll be going over Klosowski and the Vicious Circle. Can't wait. This weekend, we'll be doing filming of this. Yay, Goodwill. And we'll be smashing this, and I've got to take video with it. There's a whole bunch of stuff I have to do before and after, so we'll see. But we're going to begin the project. If you have feedback, if after you watch this and you get to this point, you're like, what the fuck, Brooks? I think your idea is terrible. Head over to the Discord, discord.gg/DGQC. I would love to get your feedback. I'd love to understand what I can be doing better and how I can be phrasing it better. Would I prefer you not ask questions? No. You ask questions as if, like, there's a spikiness, my friend. There's a spikiness. Spikiness. That's all. I don't mind questions. You're good. It's just spiky. The symbolism of doing kintsugi on something that was shattered intentionally rather than accidentally is interesting. There's a lot of layers to this that I think are going to be fun. Now imagine, I spent time trying to figure out if I could smash it so I'd get the right number of pieces. The answer is no. The answer is no. There's no way to do that meaningfully with ceramic because of how it's built and porcelain. Just the way it works. So, but head over to Kid, give some love, ask about inflation, and I will see all of you